December 3rd, 2025, 0315 hours, 12 nautical miles north of La Guaira, Venezuela. The radar operator aboard the USS Nitze thought he was seeing ghosts. 73 contacts materialized on his screen in under 90 seconds. Small, fast, moving in perfect coordination toward the American destroyer and its escort frigate, the USS Cooperstown. His hand froze over the alert button for just a moment, long enough to wonder if this was a system malfunction, long enough to hope it was. It wasn't. Venezuela had just launched the largest coordinated drone swarm attack in Western Hemisphere history. 80 Iranian-made Shahed-136 kamikaze drones purchased for $12,000 each, screaming toward 2 American warships worth a combined $3.4 billion. The math was obscene. Less than $1 million in hardware attempting to cripple assets that represented years of American shipbuilding, decades of technological development, and the combat power of a small nation. But Caracas wasn't thinking about math. They were thinking about humiliation, about 3 years of American sanctions, about frozen assets and diplomatic isolation. They'd been promised by their Russian advisors that the Americans wouldn't dare retaliate on Venezuelan soil, that international law protected them, that the risk was acceptable. They were catastrophically wrong, because what Venezuela's generals didn't understand was that attacking U.S. warships doesn't trigger a proportional response. It triggers total war. If you want to see how America responds when red lines are crossed, stay with me. The next 16 minutes will rewrite the rules of hemispheric power. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, because what happens next changes everything. The drones came in 3 waves. The first wave, 27 units, arrived at 0317. The Nitze's phalanx close-in weapon system engaged immediately. 4,500 rounds per minute of 20mm tungsten projectiles, creating a wall of steel in the air. 18 drones disintegrated in seconds, but 9 got through. 3 slammed into the Nitze's superstructure, warheads designed to penetrate tank armor, ripping through aluminum like tissue paper. The explosion of the Combat Information Center killed 7 sailors instantly. 2 more drones hit below the waterline, enough to flood 2 compartments and knock out the aft steering. The Cooperstown fared worse. 5 drones converged on her simultaneously. Her lone phalanx mount destroyed 3, but the remaining 2 hit with surgical precision. 1 struck the bridge, killing the captain and 11 officers. The second penetrated the engine room, severing fuel lines and shattering steam pipes. Within 90 seconds, the frigate was dead in the water, listing 7 degrees to starboard. Venezuelan command was jubilant. They just crippled 2 American warships for less than the cost of a suburban house. In Caracas, generals toasted with Russian vodka. State television prepared victory broadcasts. The Americans had been bloodied, humiliated. The celebration lasted exactly 11 minutes. At 0328, the USS Bataan, a Wasp-class amphibious assault ship operating 300 nautical miles north, received flash traffic from Southern Command authorization code Thunderbolt, execute immediately, no escalation restrictions. The captain read the message twice, then he smiled with the cold satisfaction of a surgeon preparing to remove a tumor. Sound General Quarters launched the strike package, all available assets. What Venezuela didn't know was that the Nitze and Cooperstown weren't operating alone. They were the bait. For 6 weeks, U.S. Southern Command had been positioning assets throughout the Caribbean in absolute communication silence, the largest American naval concentration in the region since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Waiting for exactly this moment, the strike package assembled with terrifying speed. 12 F-35 Bravo Lightning fighters from the Bataan, 8 FA-18 Super Hornets from the USS Harry Truman operating 300 miles east, 4 EA-18 Golf Growler electronic warfare aircraft, 2 E-2 Delta Hawkeye early warning planes, and beneath the waves, 3 Virginia-class attack submarines, their vertical launch tubes loaded with Tomahawk cruise missiles. At 0345, the war began in earnest, not with bombs, with silence. the EA-18 Golf Growlers activated their ALQ-99 jamming pods from 200 miles offshore. Every radio frequency the Venezuelan military used simply ceased to exist. Command posts couldn't talk to radar stations couldn't talk to air defense batteries. The entire Venezuelan air defense network, built over decades with billions in Russian equipment, suddenly became a collection of isolated, blind, helpless platforms. Venezuelan operators watched their screens dissolve into static. They switched frequencies, more static, emergency channels, silence. They knew American aircraft were coming. They could do absolutely nothing to stop them. At 0351, the Tomahawks launched 64 missiles from 3 submarines, each one programmed with GPS coordinates accurate to within 3 meters. Total cost $115 million. They flew at 550 miles per hour, hugging the terrain, following pre-programmed routes. The first impacts came at 0409, 18 minutes of flight time. The targets were chosen for maximum psychological impact. Caracas Air Base, home to Venezuela's most advanced Su-30 Flanker fighters. 8 Tomahawks arrived within 45 seconds of each other. Fuel storage tanks erupted in fireballs visible from space. Hangars collapsed, runways cratered, 23 aircraft destroyed on the ground. Total Venezuelan Air Force losses $900 million. American expenditure $12 million in missiles. La Carlota Air Base, the presidential air terminal where Maduro's personal aircraft sat waiting. 4 Tomahawks. The presidential 737 disintegrated. The message was personal. You attacked us. We can reach you anywhere. Puerto Cabello Naval Base, Venezuela's largest naval facility. 17 Tomahawks. 6 surface combatants sunk at their moorings. The ammunition depot exploded with such force it registered on seismographs 80 miles away. Estimated losses $1.2 billion. American cost $23 million, but the crown jewel was the S-300 batteries. Russia had sold Venezuela 4 complete systems, state-of-the-art air defense, each battery worth $200 million. American intelligence had tracked their exact locations for months. 12 Tomahawks, 3 per battery. They arrived simultaneously at 0412, $800 million in Russian hardware reduced to scrap metal in 90 seconds. The manned aircraft arrived 30 seconds behind the cruise missiles. F-35 Lightnings dropping from 40,000 feet. GBU-39 small diameter bombs releasing in rapid succession, each bomb guided by GPS and laser designation. The targets were methodical. Communication towers, radar installations, command bunkers. The Ministry of Defense building in Caracas took 4 direct hits. Intelligence later confirmed 17 senior officers killed, including 2 generals. Venezuelan fighters attempted to respond. 8 Su-30 Flankers managed to get airborne from dispersal fields. Pilots flying blind, their radars jammed, their ground controllers silent. They never saw the American fighters. F-35 Lightnings engaged from 70 miles away. 8 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles launched. 8 Su-30 Flankers destroyed. American aircraft losses, 0. The entire air campaign lasted 16 minutes. In that quarter hour, American forces had destroyed 90% of Venezuela's air defense network, 23 frontline fighters, 6 surface combatants, 47 radar installations, 12 command centers, 8 ammunition depots, 3 fuel storage facilities, and the presidential aircraft. Total Venezuelan losses, $4.7 billion. Total American expenditure, $160 million in munitions. The cost exchange ratio was 29-1. By 0430, the strike package was withdrawing. Not a single American aircraft lost, not a single pilot scratched. Mission complete. In Caracas, the scene was apocalyptic. 47 separate fires burned across the city. Emergency services overwhelmed. Power grid destabilized. The Ministry of Defense building smoldering. Maduro went underground into a hardened bunker built by Cuban engineers during the Cold War. He stayed there for 3 days. The international response was predictable but irrelevant. Russia condemned the strikes. China called for restraint, but behind closed doors, the conversation was very different. Russian defense contractors fielded panicked calls from customers worldwide. Indian military attaches who'd been considering S-400 secret purchases suddenly wanted detailed explanations. Middle Eastern kingdoms asked pointed questions about equipment reliability. Moscow's defense export revenue projections suddenly seemed optimistic. Iran's Revolutionary Guard watched footage of their Shahed drones being swatted from the sky like insects and quietly canceled planned deliveries to proxy forces. If 80 drones couldn't overwhelm 2 American ships, what chance did smaller swarms have? China's military strategists held urgent meetings reassessing their assumptions about American willingness to use force. They'd convinced themselves that Washington was risk-averse. Venezuela had just provided a very expensive counter-argument, but perhaps the most important message was delivered to other potential adversaries throughout Latin America. Nicaragua, Bolivia, Cuba. The message was brutally simple. If you attack American forces, we will demolish your military capability, and there's absolutely nothing you can do to stop us. Venezuela spent $1 million in drones and achieved 16 minutes of perceived victory. The United States spent $160 million and eliminated Venezuela as a military threat for the next decade. Every radar station destroyed would cost tens of millions to replace. Every aircraft lost represented years of pilot training wasted. The ammunition depot at Puerto Cabello had contained enough ordnance to sustain Venezuelan military operations for 6 months. Gone in a single explosion. By dawn, the truth had settled over Caracas like smoke from burning military facilities. They'd provoked the United States Navy, attacked American warships, killed American sailors, and America had responded not with proportional retaliation, but with the systematic destruction of their entire military capability. Venezuela had bet everything on a single hand. They'd believed their Russian advisors who promised that American political constraints would prevent serious retaliation. They'd trusted Iranian assurances that swarm tactics would overwhelm U.S. defenses. They were wrong on every count, and now they would spend the next decade rebuilding from rubble. The operation officially concluded at 0600 hours when the last American aircraft landed safely aboard the Bataan. In Washington, the Pentagon released a terse statement confirming that U.S. forces had responded to an unprovoked attack with, quote, appropriate and proportional measures, unquote. Proportional. The word hung in the air like a challenge. $4.7 billion in destruction, 90% of an air defense network eliminated, a nation's military capability erased in 16 minutes. Proportional, because when you attack American warships, when you kill American sailors, proportionality isn't measured in equivalent force. It's measured in the complete removal of your ability to ever threaten American forces again. Venezuela learned that lesson the hard way, in fire and smoke and the thunder of Tomahawk missiles arriving faster than sound. The guns fell silent, the fires eventually burned out, but the message echoed across every hostile capital, every potential adversary, every nation, considering whether American power was declining, whether American resolve was weakening, whether attacking U.S. forces might be a risk worth taking. Venezuela had asked that question with 80 $12,000 drones. America answered with $160 million in precision munitions and $4.7 billion in destroyed infrastructure. The exchange rate couldn't have been clearer. Attack us once, lose everything. If this breakdown of military power and strategic miscalculation opened your eyes to modern warfare's brutal mathematics, subscribe for more in-depth analysis. Share this with anyone who thinks geography or foreign equipment provides immunity from American retaliation, because the age of consequence-free aggression just ended in the Caribbean, and the lesson was written in fire across Venezuelan airspace.